This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, just to begin this, uh, since this is more of a security side, before that we need to know about attacking terminologies also, right? So guys, what do you understand by the term hack? Anyone?
Taking control of authorized person.
Right?
Yeah, moreover, taking control of your
With
data or your important information.
Okay. What about like Shirin and Tejas?
Take up the PIA or something from an authorized person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tejas? Okay. So like what you told me, like it's more like more over like a more into technical part, right? But like in general, like what I prefer to say is like hack is a shortcut, right? Like if I want to do an intended thing in an unintended way, can I call it as a hack? Let's say
yes, yes.
right, let's say you might have always bought that cold drink bottle, right? Coca-Cola, that sort of bit, like 2 liters in there sort of bit, isn't it? So let's say you have used the whole cold drink. Relatives are there and like your family, so you are done with the whole cold drink. So now what you do with that bottle? Like, do you throw that bottle in the trash, or do you use that bottle to fill the water and then you keep it in your fridge?
Second option, Sanyan.
Yeah, I guess every Indian family can relate to that. Right?
Yeah.
So can I call it as a hack? Because like the intended thing was to of that cold drink bottle was to just for the cold drink purpose, right? But instead of that, we used it for filling water, and then we are using it for the on the regular basis, isn't it? You might guys have heard about the term DIY hacks, do it your own, right? Those sort of hacks, do it yourself. Like let's say you purchase a bottle of wine, and after consuming it, what you do, use it for the decoration purpose. You put up some fairy lights inside it, right? Isn't it? That sort of a hack, right?
Yeah.
Great, perfect. So like when we talk about this technology hack, right, that can be divided like in two parts, isn't it? One is with the basis of your computer or like your devices, right? And one is with the basis of your networking part, right? Correct. So let's talk about computer. Okay, just to tell you, though it's not more into like related to your syllabus, right? This is like just for the information which I like people to know about it, right? Just to expand your knowledge graph. So when we talk about computer devices, okay, can anyone tell me how their system boots up? Anyone?
So operating system, like
Hmm. Okay. Are you
So
asking
BIOS,
or yeah?
first it will start with the BIOS, then go for the kernel, then other appliances, and finally there's peripheral which are connected to the system.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Great. So the very first thing is we do is we power it on, isn't it? Right? We power on our machine. So when we power it on, okay, let me just do one thing. just create it. All right. Cool. So, can you guys tell me what is the first thing when you do when you wake up in the morning? What is the first thing you do?
Check the mobile.
Okay. What about others? And guys, let me tell you, I've really heard some weird answers for this question. So feel free to shoot anything. Okay. Tejas, you were saying something?
Yeah, brush your teeth or like, yeah, just normal day-to-day activity.
Okay. What about Nilesh and Shirin?
Yeah,
Go to the
mobile
washroom, brush your
devices.
teeth. Yeah.
That's perfect. What about Nilesh?
Yeah, check the mobile first, then emails.
Okay. Workload, man. Always work. Cool. So, okay. What if I say the very first thing which I do in the morning is I open my eyes? Isn't it? The very first thing you do is you open your eyes, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That was a pretty tricky one.
Yeah. Great. So, like when we are talking about this computer or the devices, the what happens very first, like when you power it on, the processor starts working. I believe you guys might have seen the processor, right? This is something like this on the back. So in your processor, it has 16 bit of registers, okay, which has a maximum address of this sort of, okay. It's more of a like a hexadecimal format, right? So what happened, guys? Like when you power it up, so the very first register, okay, the very first register, it get lit up, okay, it get lit up. Cool. So now what happens? It will take you, as Nilesh also mentioned, the BIOS thing, right, Nilesh?
Yes.
Great. So it will take you to the BIOS. Now, can you tell me like uh, what is the way like it will be the very next step it will be going to the BIOS? Like, is it some sort of a hardwired or that sort of bit which might be taking from your processor from the very first register to the BIOS? Just want to know, is it hardwired or is it a logical way to go to the BIOS?
It's a logical way just to check if the other peripherals like CPUs and all other stuffs are available for the system to boot up.
Right. As also mentioned, this address over here, like it will be pointing out to your BIOS. Okay, so that's more of a logical way, right? Because people also generally what I have like I have heard is like people they say that might be hardwired in your motherboard, which might be taking from your this processor to the BIOS. That sort of it. So since we are talking about the BIOS, right? What is the BIOS?
Basic input output system.
Right. Okay. So what it does?
It makes sure the resources are available to start the operating system. Then it will pass on the control to the next stage, grub, to check out which are the kernel images that it has to load on.
Right. So basic input output system like this BIOS runs diagnostic testing, right? It will be running your diagnostic testing sequence known as post, doesn't power on self test. So what it will do, it will determine the computer's keyboard, mouse, RAM, disk drive, and your hard disk are working, right? You might have seen like whenever you might have seen in your old machines, like old part of the old version of the Windows, when you open them, they might be showing you mouse check, mouse is working, keyboard is working. Have you ever noticed? like Windows XP or Vista, that sort of bit,
Yes.
right? So when we talk about the hard disk, when it just out to your hard disk, we have one more thing over here which goes by the name MBR. Anyone heard about it?
Yes, master boot record. It stores
Absolutely.
the information for the kernel image, the address for the kernel boot image.
Yes. And moreover, like your all these drives are stored over here, isn't it? Your operating system and that sort of bit. Correct? So, okay. Just to clear this MBR, your MBR guys has a size of 5112 bytes. Okay. And it is located in your sector 0. Okay. Anyone who knows what is sector 0 or the sectors? Okay.
Is it starting location of a hard disk?
Yeah. So like what happens now in BIOS after checking your hard disk, it goes to MBR. Okay, as I mentioned, your MBR is of 512 bytes and it is located in your sector 0. So let me just create a hard disk. Can anyone tell me how does your hard disk looks like? Like what is the shape of your hard disk?
It's a small rectangular shape.
Triangular. Okay.
Rectangle.
Okay, rectangular. Great. What about others?
Yes.
Yeah, rectangular box type, like something.
Okay. Nilesh and Shirin?
Yes, rectangular shape.
All right. Okay. So guys, basically your hard disk is something like this, a disk shape. The thing which is rectangular is just the outside cover. Inside that there's a disk which is of this shape, and that's your hard disk. Okay. So basically hard disk is more of a disk shape. Let's create one more. There you go. Okay. So your hard disk is divided into something this. Something like this. So when we are talking about the portions like this, okay, these are your sectors. Okay, these are known as your sectors. So what is the size of a sector?
Bytes.
Yeah, 512 bytes. The size of every sector is 512 bytes because as I mentioned, your MBR is stored in your sector 0, right? Which is of the size of 512 bytes. So your sector 0 will be somewhere around here. Like if you do multiple parts of it, it would be something around here, right? So, okay, my bad. So just taking an example over here, let me share my screen. Or like already sharing you, but just make it more clear. All right, it's visible now. So if I create, let's say a text document, and let's give it a name, test, right? And if I write hello inside this, Oh man. Yeah, there you go. Cool. If I write hello inside it, and if I try to save it, now, uh, where does this file save to? Like, where should it go? When I'm trying to save this file, should this file occupy space in your hard disk?
Yes.
Yes, right? So let's try to look at it. If I go for the properties,
Mhm.
can you see the size of the file?
Yes.
5 bytes, right? Like since we
Yeah.
wrote hello inside it. What is the size on the disk,
0 bytes.
right? And it should, like as I mentioned, it should take a size on the disk, right?
Mhm.
So anyone who knows what might be the reason over here?
It might be saving in other location, not on disk.
Yes, yes. Like it would be in your disk, but it's a bit different over there. Just to show you over here, like if I write something, hello, just print it a bit more. Check it. Okay. Let's see. Okay, there you go. It says 4 KB now, right?
Mhm.
Can you see that? Okay. So here comes cluster in the picture. Anyone heard about the cluster?
No, Sanyam.
Okay. So since you have noticed the minimum size of the file was 4 KB, right? Like the unit it allotted in your side of the hard disk was 4 KB. Even the size of the
Correct.
file was 740 KB, right? Yeah. So what is happening? This is your cluster over here. Now, guys, your cluster, it consists of 8 sectors, okay, which make the size of your cluster equals to, what is the size of your cluster now? It includes 8
4096.
sectors in it. Sorry.
4096.
Yeah. So can I call it 4 KB now?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So your cluster make it the size of 4 KB, right? So your size on disk is 0 because its size is less than the minimum requirement, right? So let's say there is a cluster which was allotted to that file, okay, and there was another file. Let's say there was another file which occupied the cluster, and let's say, okay, there you go. This is a cluster, right? The size of the cluster was 4 KB, isn't it? Right, and there was a file which occupied this cluster, and the size of this file was, let's say, 3 KB, right? And more of like any 500 bytes and that sort of bits, right? 3 KB, like 3.5 KB, correct? So what was happening? If you can see, the size of the cluster was 4 KB, but if there is any file with the size of 3 KB, this is like of a free space over here, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that free space over here is known as your swap space. So the file which we created, with the name test, it was being stored in your swap space. That's why it was not getting any size on the disk, but it was being stored in a swap space. So as soon as the swap space which was allotted to that file, as soon as it crossed that limit of swap space, that file got a cluster. Okay, and if you can check, the size of the file now on the hard disk is, like, the size it is getting on the hard disk is 4 KB, right? Getting my point?
Yes, Sanyam. Yeah.
Great.
And what does this 3 KB space stand for?
So that's nothing. That's for an example. Let's say there was another file which was of size 3 KB. It was also
Okay.
allotted in a cluster, right? So this that file was having 3 KB, but since it was allotted a cluster, she was that file was making 1 KB of free space, right? That space is known as your swap space. Just relate that thing with the test thing.
Okay.
Test file. Great, perfect. So since when we are talking about the MBR, right? We have. So, how many of you guys installed your Windows in your system? Anyone?
Yeah, I installed.
Yeah, I have installed.
Great, perfect then. Let me just make this perfect. Okay. So this thing over here, first of all, is known as a bootloader. Okay. And this is your partition table. And this is your OS signature. All right. So basically, when we are talking about MBR, the size of MBR is 512, right? And this partition table is of 64 byte. Okay. The size of your OS signature is of 2 bytes, which makes your bootloader of the size of 512 minus your 66, isn't it? 6 and 4. That's a 446.
446.
Right. All right. Okay, let me just remove it. Doesn't look good. All right, perfect. Now, what is happening? Like, since you know what is a partition table, can you tell me about partition table? All right. So, yeah, you were saying, Ratna, something?
Is it the way we divide the hard disk into multiple drives? Is it the partition table?
Like in your partition table, like if you have seen this C drive, D drive, right?
Correct.
These are like
Yeah.
your primary drives, right? Like your partition table is like more of a primary and secondary, right? So in your primary, you put up some these drivers and you install your operating system. So it can be like there are 4 primary drives, of which one is by default known as your system partition. If you guys have noticed when you were installing Windows, guys, you might have seen one. There is a one drive which is known as a system partition, right? Which was previously known as your system reserve. So it's like a by default over there, which is quite like a mandatory. So you cannot touch it, right? Then rest there are like your other drives, your C drive, E drive, D drive, right? So moreover, it's like a 4 primary drives, correct? In your bootloader, it's nothing but it loads data in the system software into the main memory as soon as the device is started. Okay, but see, there was a problem with your okay, OS signature thing. Like when you open your Windows, you might see the logo of that Windows, right? Isn't it? So that's
Yes.
like a OS signature of it. So there was a problem with the MBR structure that it was static though, right? It was static. Okay. So see, in partition table, in this partition section, 64 byte is allotted like to like 4 drives, right? And each has a 16 byte. It is allotted to 4. Okay. So let's say, what if I use only 32 bytes, right? One is by default as a system partition, and I use 16 byte for your C drive. Okay. So I use 32. So how much of a byte I am left with? So 64, right? And I use only 32 bytes. So I'm left
32
with
is remaining. 32.
32 is remaining, right? So tell me now, like as an hacker's perspective, isn't it easy that MBR like to hack that MBR editor? Like he can target this space, right? And he can change the hard disk RPM, which can cause damage to the hard disk, isn't it? Or he can put any sort of a malicious code inside it, inside that space. He can utilize it, right? So that was a
Yes.
problem with MBR, that it's static. That's why after this we upgraded to your GPT, okay, which is your GUID partition table. Okay, and please excuse me for my writing, right? So it's more of a dynamic portion, right? The main advantage of this was that it was dynamic. So only that much space is provided as much as the size of the operating system. Let's say if we were putting up using 32 bytes, so it will be using only 32 bytes, nothing more of that. All right. So that's a bit about your system devices. I hope this is something new for you. Like you got to learn something new out of it, right?
Yes, Anya.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. Sure.
So this was a bit of a device part. Let's jump to the networking part now, right? So okay, when we talk about networking part, I guess the basics of everyone is clear over here with the networking. Is it? Okay, no worries. We'll go through it again. I believe you guys might have heard about the term OSI model,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Great. What about Tejas and Shirin?
Yes, during, but long back, if you can revise quickly, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. So your OSI model stands for?
Open system interconnect.
Absolutely. Okay, I won't just go like deep dive into it. I will try to explain it with an analogy so that everyone would be able to understand that. Before going with it, can anyone tell me like about anything they know, like want to share the insights in OSI model, like whatever they know about it?
It has seven. It has 7 layers. It starts from application. One goes till the physical layer. In between, you
Right.
have physical data link, transport layer, session layer, and later I don't recollect. Sorry.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Nilesh?
Uh, we can say it's a guideline for transferring any data from one point to another point.
Mm-hmm.
So OSI is a reference model, but in practical, we mostly use TCP/IP model for transferring the data from application layer to the data link layer, then to the other party in the reverse way, like from data link layer to the application layer.
Right. Absolutely. So can anyone tell me what is the first layer one?
The application layer,
So from top or bottom?
Just the layer one I am asking. What is
Physical
the
Physical.
layer. Physical
which
layer.
layer? Absolutely. Physical layer is your layer one. The application is the layer 7. All right. Okay. So let me just draw this for you. There you go. One, which is your application, right? Second would be your presentation, right?
presentation, session layer, then transport
Yes.
layer,
Yes.
network
Then
layer,
absolutely.
data link layer.
Yes. The
The
last is your session, right? Let me just write it over here first. Application, presentation, Just do one thing. Okay. Yeah. And your session and your, what's the next? Transport, right? Transport and your network, then your data link, and then your physical. There you go. So what I prefer to go is like, I prefer a way to remember it, which goes by this. Like to remember all these layer, I try to remember it by this way because it helps me a lot in this, trying to remember it. So anyone who is a foodie just like me, right, he will be able to remember it as well. So I go by remembering this one. Please do not throw sausage pizza away. So anyone fan of pizza and sausage over here? Okay, no one. Great. So this is a like easy way to remember all these layer, right? Please do not throw sausage pizza away. So I try to remember all these things with this way. You can like create of your own, right? So what I will like anyone who can tell me the working of these layers?
Physical layer is of your basically your connections, how you connect the things.
Mm-hmm. What about others?
The application layer will provide you the web interface to your application or end user.
Right.
Presentation layer will help you to encode or decode the data. The
Right.
session layer will, I guess, it will help you to what you can say, the fault tolerance check or checkpoints that will make sure that data will receive at the receiving end in the correct format that it was sent from. Then the transport level will divide the data into the packets. The network
Mm-hmm.
layer will transfer the packets into the segments, and the data link layer will convert it to the bits and bytes, and then it will get transferred over the physical path like the ETH cable or copper, any cables or any fiber optic cable to the receiving
Mm-hmm.
end. And the receiver side, it will be exactly opposite to what we did in the transfer, the sender side.
Okay. What did you tell me about data link?
Data link layer will create a frame for your data.
Right. And network will be doing
The segmentation.
segmentation is in on transport. Network will be making
Uh,
it packet. Okay.
okay. So I guess, yeah, correct.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just do one thing. Let me just write it down again. Application, right? And your presentation. So what I will do, I will try to explain it within analogy so that you guys can be connect to it like easily, right?
Sausage.
Oh,
Session.
sorry. Oh, sorry. My bad. Session and then your transport, network, data link, and your physical, right? Okay. Let me do one thing. Let me just copy it. There you go. Say one more just in case. Here. All right. So I need one favor from you guys. I want you guys to name each layer with a person. So just drop some names for naming them. So drop any name with the first letter A.
So you can take Nilesh.
Sorry, Akhilesh?
Yeah, you can take my name Nilesh, the application layer. It's
No, no, I need something with the name starting with the A only.
A only.
Amit.
All right, Amit. Okay. What about
Pratik.
P? Pratik.
Sumit.
That's perfect. Okay. Sumit.
Tushar.
Let's put it Tejas over here. And Nilesh.
Okay.
Sorry about Sharon and Ratna. Okay. With D,
Deepak.
let
David.
let's check Deepak. Okay. With P, let's put Priya. We need one lady also.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's say, okay, Amit is over here, and let's say there's another person over here. Cool. So let's say similarly, each and every person deciding at this receiver end also. Let's not just name them. That's pretty understood, right? So let's say this is one organization, and this is another organization. Okay. So let's say Amit over here, guys. Amit is the owner of this organization, right? He's on the topmost position. So let's say Amit over here, he understands only Hindi. Okay. All right. And this person over here, he understands only, let's say, French. All right. Cool. So these are like, this is just an analogy. Okay. So these are the two persons, like let's say Amit only understand Hindi, and the other person or the receiver end with the another organization, he understands only French. So let's say they are like having a business deals going on, right? So Amit needs to send a document, right? And it is of 400 pages. The document is of 400 pages written in Hindi. All right. Now, Amit will pass those 400 pages to the person sitting on this layer, which is your Pratik, right? He will pass that document of 400 pages to Pratik. Now, Pratik over here knows that this person over on the other side knows French, right? So what he will do? So he will just put up a common language so that both these guys can understand, like both these organizations. So he will just, what he will do, he will just convert all those 400 pages from Hindi to, let's say, English. Okay. Now it goes to the other person, let's say Sumit. Sumit will be checking the availability, right? He will be checking like, will the receiver end will be receiving at the time or not, at what time are their office hours, and the sort of bits, right? Then he will pass that 400 pages document to your Tejas. Now what Tejas will be doing? Okay, as Nilesh mentioned,
Encrypt.
Segmentation. Yeah, will divide.
yeah, Ratna, encryption, like if I've heard it correctly, encryption on over here, right? It is like making from Hindi to English, isn't it?
Okay. Okay, fine.
So, okay. So as Nilesh mentioned, it will be like doing segmentation. So what he will be doing, he will be dividing those 400 pages into 4 slots, right? 100 pages each. Okay. This is like your 100 pages each. So like even if one document got dropped in between, others won't affect, right? Instead of going like whole in one way, like 400 pages, and dropping them in somewhere in between, meeting with an accident. So it's better to divide into 4, right? So now Tejas will do divide into 4 parts, 100 documents each, right? So what will happen? The very first will be going to your Nilesh, right? The very first document of 100 pages will be going to your Nilesh now. So now what Nilesh will be doing? Anyone?
It will convert them into packets, or you can say a sender and receiver
Yeah,
addresses
like,
will get updated.
okay. Yeah, that's correct. That's like in a more technical terms, right? So like according to my analogy, what it will do, it will just like see, these are created envelopes created over here, right? 4 envelopes. So Nilesh, what he will do, he will just put up an address over here, like of this organization and of this organization, right? So we'll put up a address over here. Now Nilesh will pass this to Deepak. Now Deepak, what Deepak will be doing, Deepak will be putting up a stamp or a seal over here, right? Just to confirm that this is from this organization to this organization, right? Like you might have seen in the old movies also, they put up a stamp like in the Kingdom movies, right? So after this, what will happen? Since like Deepak sealed it with like a stamp or something, it will pass it to Priya. Now Priya will be taking to the another organization by any means. Like she can like hire a cab, she will be like driving on her own, right? Any sort of bit, like bike, cycles, cars, anything, right? So when the document is reached over here to this point, now the person sitting over here will be receiving that document from Priya, right? Then he will be passing it to this person sitting on this layer. So what he will be doing, he will be checking that seal or stamp, right? And then he will be just removing it. Then he will be passing that document to person sitting on this layer, right? What he will be doing, he will be checking the addresses, okay, that this address belongs to this organization, and the sender's address, he will just confirm it, and then he will pass it to the person on this position. So the person on this position, what he will do, he will be just waiting for all those 4 documents, right? So he'll be waiting all those 4 documents over here. Then he will be just passing it to this person. He'll be just checking the session over here, right? The availability. Then he will be passing to the person over this position. So since he received all these 4, it was just converted into like one document of 400 pages now. Correct? So when it passed to this person on this position, what this person will be doing with these pages now?
We'll convert to French.
Absolutely.
Decrypt.
What he will, yeah. So what he will be doing, he will be converting those documents which are written in English to French. Right? So that when that document is passed to this person, the head of this organization, he is able to read those documents. All right. I hope this is clear. I tried to put it in a very simple way.
Yeah. Can
Yes,
you
Sanjay, it's
repeat
clear.
one time what is session basically?
Like it's managing the session over, like more in technical terms, it will be managing a session over there. Like availability, like if that other person would be there on the or not receiving, like he will be live or like he is online to receive that packet or not.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, that's a bit more in a technical term, right? So as everything is mentioned, application will be managing the application, like as Nilesh also said, any web interface sort of thing, right? Presentation, what you will be doing, it will be doing your encryption and decryption, right? Session will be managing the session. Transport layer, it will be doing your data segmentation and all those your TCP, UDP protocols will be there, right? And networking, we'll be putting up net IP headers. In your data link, we put MAC headers, and our physical layer, they are just digital analog signals which will be passing your message, right? So let's say you open your app, right? And like there are 2 people communicating, right? You open your app and you are sending this message: hi, how are you? Okay, let's say you're passing this message: hi, how are you? Right? So you open your application, you are trying to send this sort of a message to another person which says, hi, how are you? So what will happen in the presentation there? It will get in the presentation, it will get encrypted, right? Or the encoded one.
Encrypted.
Let's say yeah, it goes like this: IHOWHRAEOUY. All right. Yeah. Now it goes to session, it will just check the session over there, then it will pass to your transport, right? So now what transport will be doing? It divided into the segments, right?
Segmentation, yeah.
Yeah, just this underscore over here is just a space over here, right? Just don't get confused. Underscore R A E underscore O U I question mark. Wait, let me just put it in a box. This one, right? Something like this. It will do the segmentation of that, right? This data over here is known as your payload, right? Which is going from layer to layer. So when it goes to your network layer, right? At this point, as I said,
Sanya, one question. What happens in
yeah,
session layer, Sanya?
it will just manage this session, right? It will be just checking if this connection is not for a long period of a time, right? So what it will do, it will just close the session. It will reopen for you, so that data can be
Okay.
sent, yeah, in a good way.
Okay.
Okay, great. So when we're talking about this one, network layer, as I said, what it will do, it will be attaching your IP headers over here, right? So what it will do, let's say this is your data in between, which you were passing by, which you are passing. It is your IH underscore, right? So over here, you will be putting up a header of your source or the sender. So sender's IP will be attached at this header, and destination IP will be attached to this header. All right. So when it goes to your data link layer, now what will happen? In data link layer, what is attached? Anyone?
What's it to frame?
Sorry. Yeah, frame. Yeah, that's right. It's called a frame over here. In the network, it is known as your packet. Over here, it is known as your frame. But the thing which is getting attached over here is your, just let me put it over here now. Is your MAC address, right? I guess everyone knows about MAC. What is a MAC?
So
It's
almost
IP address of a device, a physical device.
Not the IP address, but yeah,
Or
you can say the physical address.
unique machine address or
Yes. Yes.
physical
So
machine.
yeah, like a unique identifier for it, right?
Yeah.
So your machine has a NIC in it, which is known as your network interface card. So it holds a MAC address, which is the full form of MAC address is your media access control, right? So it's like a more of a unique number which will identify your system. All right, that's your MAC address. So your IP address is more known as your logical address, and your MAC address is more known as your physical address. Okay. You can say just like something like let's say Nilesh lives in this city, right? Whatever the name of the city is, right? And like if you want to go over the map, that's your IP address, right? Even the street name will be like an IP address. But if you can tell the house number, house name, right? So that was more over like your MAC address. Okay,
Okay. Got it, Sanya. Thank you.
great. So yeah. So this was your data, right? And source IP header was there. destination IP was here. So what you will do now, you will be attaching your source MAC and your destination MAC. All right. So you will be passing it to the physical layer. Now what will happen? This will be passed to the receiver end, and now from physical it will be passed to your data link, right? So now what data link layer will be doing? It will be cross-checking your source MAC header and your destination MAC header, right? So point to point it will be over here. So now what will happen if it sees like destination MAC is correct and your source MAC is correct, it will just remove this header, right? Now you are left with source IP, data, and your destination IP. So it will be passed to your network layer now. So in your network layer, what it will be doing, it will be checking your source IP and your destination IP. When it matches, right? So it will just shred your source IP header also. Sorry, source IP header and your destination IP header. So now you are left with the data part only. So when you go to your transport layer over here, it will be just waiting for all these payloads which are yet to come, right? So when they come, it will be just joining them, creating something like this, right? Then it goes to the presentation layer. They will be just doing what? They'll be decrypting, right? Earlier it was encrypted, right? Then at the receiver end, it will be get decrypted, and then you got your plain text message over here, right? I hope that's clear.
Yes, Sanyam.
Yes, Sanya.
All right, that's perfect. I tried to put it on a very simple note, so I guess everyone is able to relate with it, right? Perfect. So, okay, let me just check. All right, there you go. So that was a bit about your OSI model, right? Then we have your TCP IP, because also Nilesh mentioned in the very starting, OSI is more like your reference model, right? But what we do practically, we implement your TCP IP, isn't it? Right, Nilesh?
Yes.
Great. So can you tell me what is TCP IP?
Yeah, it has a basically it's a we can say the model that is used in practical for communication from one point to another, and it has mainly 4 layers
Mhm.
compared to the OSI layer. So all these 3 layers that are there in OSI model, application presentation session layer will convert it to
Right,
application, a single application layer, TCP.
right, right. Okay. So the, though first of all, this TCP, your TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol, right? And your IP stands for Internet Protocol, right? So these are like a sort of a communication protocols which are used to like interconnect your networking devices over the internet, right? So what happens, like this is more of a like a practical approach, right? And your OSI was reference, though the flow of the everything is same, but as Nilesh mentioned, like there are few layers over here, so it's not confirmed that there are only 4 layers actually, since this TCP is not documented, right? That's why it's not confirmed that there are 4 layers only. See, actually if you go for the different writers, right, they will be showing you different layers for this. It's not confirmed that there are only 4 layers. That's just for their, as per their understanding, they mentioned 5 layers or 4 layers, right? And that's sort of it. So let me just write something over here. I will look up it. Let me check. Okay. So let's say this is your application and this is your network and this is your data link and this is your physical, right? You might see different names for this, right? But like you can call it, like, I prefer to go with this way, right? So you can see, like you might see this might be knowing as a transport, right? And this might be doing as a internet, and this known as a network access layer. So it like basically dependent like whatever layer name you are putting over here. But the main key point over here is, guys, like Nilesh also mentioned, this in this application layer, it will be consisting all these three layers over here. Okay, and this network, it will be consisting your transport and network. Data link is just like a data link, and physical is for physical only. All right, the flow is same, but like in OSI, it was just based on the reference per, so it's not practically implemented. Like you can say, like yeah, like if you go with the flow, let's say the application layer, where like you open an application, right? Then what you do, like when you're creating opening an application or like doing any sort of thing, you create the session at that moment only, isn't it? Am I right or not?
Yes.
But there the session was creating at the later part after the presentation, though, because you encrypt when you send something, then you are encrypting it, right? It was happening at the, like that's why there were more complications with your OSI model, and your TCP IP was more practically implemented. It was back in the days used by your US military when they were not like when they want their data to be protected from the Russian government, right? So they were trying to uh, get their data out of the network, so they implemented this TCP IP, which was more secured. Then later down the line, this TCP IP was given to the government purpose, and then it was publicly for each and everyone. But before that, back in the days, like people like communicate like dependent on the device only. Like Dell person can only communicate with the Dell person. HP1 can communicate only with the HP. HCL can do only with the HCL, and that sort of bits were happening earlier days. Then this TCP was introduced, and then every communication protocol was safe and like secure, and they were able to interact with each other. And this in TCP IP, it's more was the summary is like flow is same, but just that these three layers are included in your application layer, right? Only here, like you will be opening the application, you are creating the session, and you are doing the encryption part, right? Then you go with the network in which you will be putting the segmentation, you will be putting the IP headers, then your data link where you'll be creating frames, right? Attaching your MAC address, yeah, header of your MAC. Then your the physical address will be passing to the all those data through your analog or digital signals. All right, right, and you know this TCP is more reliable, correct? Right. So like I guess you guys might have heard of the three-way handshake also, right?
Why is it more reliable?
Okay, your voice is breaking, Tejas.
Yeah, why is it more reliable? Yeah.
Sorry?
Why is TCP IP more reliable? Like because it is simple to like.
Okay, I'm not able
Uh,
to.
his question is why the TCP/IP is more reliable.
Yeah.
I guess my network is having a problem because everyone's voice is breaking over here. But I guess you are trying to say like why TCP is more reliable, right?
Yes. Yes.
Anyone who can answer this, like who would want to share their input?
I'll just give my input as this TCP is like connection oriented protocol. So it makes sure
Absolutely.
that you have received the data and receiving it in the correct format. So the receiver will
Right.
send an acknowledgement to the sender that I have received the data in correct format that was sent from the sender side. Am I right?
Right, absolutely.
Sanya?
That's why I
Uh,
mentioned there was a three-way handshake, right? Which
yeah.
makes the acknowledgement over there, which confirms that it's more reliable and it is receiving your packet. Whereas your
Okay,
UDP is not reliable, it's just one-way street.
got it. Yeah.
I guess you guys might be receiving my voice like in a breakage part. Is that so? Or like, it's
You are
fine?
clear, Sanyam.
Okay. Ratna's voice is clear to me, but Nilesh and Tejas were breaking for me. All right, cool. Okay, can we like go for a quick 5 minutes break? Just grab some water or tea.
Sure.
All right,
Sure.
sure. Reconnect. Okay, all right. Okay, you guys back?
Yes,
Yes.
Anya.
Yes, Sanyam.
Or did you guys even leave? All right, that's perfect. Let me just do one thing. Okay, guys, I guess you guys might have heard about IP addresses.
Yes, we heard Sanyam, but not so in detail.
No worries. What about others?
Yes, we have.
Yes, we have heard. Yeah.
Okay. So, your IP stands for Internet Protocol, right?
Yes.
Which is a logical address, right? Okay. This protocol is like more like many others, such as your HTTP, TCP, UDP, etc. Is responsible for establishing your communication in most of a network, right? So this IP address is like moreover like a numerical label assigned to each device, right, which is connected to a computer network that uses this IP for communication, right? This is like a numerical label assigned to it, isn't it? So can you tell me who assigns the IP? Anyone?
It's a dynamic IP address allocation.
So router assigns the
Uh,
IP.
your voice was breaking, Nilesh. Tejas router. Okay, okay. Nilesh, you were saying something like dynamic something.
Yeah, the static IP address or a dynamic IP address. In case of static, we can assign the IP address, or in case of dynamic, whichever the IP address available on the network, it will get assigned to the target server.
Right. Okay. Cool. So like the one he's providing you the IP, right? But who assigns the IP? There's an authority who take care
Yes.
of all these IPs. Obviously, right? There will be an authority who will be like managing all these IPs for you. Okay. That is your. Anyone heard about this? INA?
Oh,
It is your Internet Assigned Numbers Authority. So it will be just managing all your at the global level all your IPs, right? And it will be assigning those IPs to everyone. Cool. This your INA. Okay. So when we are talking about IP, we'll be talking more about your IPv4, right? So can anyone tell me what like any sort of details you know about IPv4?
it uses 32 bits of length for
Okay.
the IP address assignment. So total 2 raised to about 32 IP addresses are available in IPv4.
So you might have seen. Okay. Let me just tell you. Right? Which are the your voice was breaking, Nilesh. Like, I don't know. Is that with me only or like everyone is experienced the same?
I think only with you, Sanyam.
Yeah,
That
sometimes
might be at my end
your
then.
voice is
All right.
also breaking at my end, Sanjay.
Yeah, then it can be my end problem. Right. Let me just do one thing. Let me just check it. Mhm. Oh yeah. Like it might be happening sometimes, right? I guess my internet speed is like it's varying in between. That's why that might be the reason. So sometimes it might be sounding perfect and sometimes I might be breaking. Is that so?
Yes. Yes.
All right, all right, all right. No worries. Cool. Okay. In case you didn't like hear anything, just let me know. I will just repeat that for you. All right. So
Sure.
basically, we were talking about IPv4, in which there are 32 bits, which are divided into your four octets. So as your four octets, as in like, if you can see, there is an IP that goes by this, right? Isn't it? The IPs are like this, right? Am I right? So
Yes.
every integer over here, it holds an octet for you. Okay, these are your four octets. All right. So it's more over like your this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Similarly for second one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. These are four octets, and each octet contains your 8 bits, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which makes a total of 32 bits. All right. Clear with this? So when we talk about IP, they are like classes in your IP, right? Ratna, you want to say something? Okay, perfect. So in IP, there are a few classes. Anyone knows about it? Like class A,
Class A, B, C, D.
right? Okay, we'll talk about just B and C because you know D and E are like more over like your for multicasting experiment purpose, right? Isn't it? So can you tell me the range of class A?
0 to 127. Right.
Okay, 0 to 127. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What about class B?
128 to 191. 92 to 223.
Right. To
23.
223.
Then 224 to 239. The last one is from
Right.
240 to 255.
Right. Okay. Okay. Can you tell me that the IP 127 is that valid?
No, no. It should be 126. So one is reserved. I guess the 127 is reserved for something. Forgot.
Right.
Reserved.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And have you seen zero as well?
No, definitely not.
So it's from ranging from 1 to 126. The thing
Yeah.
over here, the zero, like the IP, if you say 0.0.0, that sort of bits, they are known as your default route, right? And when we talk about 127, so like let's say there's an IP of 127.0.01, that is your loopback IP. Okay, it is to check whether your TCP IP is properly implemented on your NIC or not. Okay, so that's your loopback IP of 127. It's for loopback, or you can say it for like a testing purpose of your own system. So it will just uh, point out to your own machine only. That's a loopback IP. All right. And when you talk about class D and E, they are like moreover like a multicasting. Like class D is for multicasting and your class E is for experimental use only. So that's not of a use. Which we mainly use is like your class A, B, and C only. Okay. Like even if I try, just give me a minute. Let me just try to show you that if we can exceed over your class C or not. Okay. Let me just put it. Mm,
Ma'am, are you sharing your settings? because we are only able to see the pen.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to open that. There you go. Can you see my screen, right? So even if we go with the, yeah, manage, not this one. Where's network? Yeah, network sharing center. Okay. Right, this one. If I go with my Wi-Fi, right? If I see properties, if I go to your IPv4, and if I use following IP address, see 223 is the limit, right? As I mentioned for the class C, correct? And I told you we can use only till 223. So if I use 224, can you see this? It says 224 is not a valid entry. Please specify a value between 1 and 223, right? That's why I told you we are using only like between your class A, B, and C only. Rest of our for your expandable purpose and for your multicast, right? So that was a bit about this, like classes, right? And then like moreover, there are like your private classes also, in which you have private classes which are ranging for class A. It is ranging from anyone who knows about it, the range 10.0.0.02 10.255.255.255. All right, then there is a class B which is ranging from 172.16.0.0 to 172.31.255.255. Then there is a class C which is ranging from 192.168, which you might see on the regular basis, right, with the router, correct? Okay, that's like for your class full. Always remember we are talking about the class full. When we talk about classless, the range is from this to this. Okay, just don't get confused. So we are talking about class full, so range is from 192 to 168.0.255 till 2.0.255. And when we are talking about classless, it's like from .255, we'll write from 192 196 or 168.255.255. Okay, clear? Like classless, we'll talk about it also. Guys, okay, do you know about the subnet mask?
No, Sanyam. And these ranges are provided by whom, Sanyam? You mentioned it, right? It's by INA.
Sorry.
Sanyam, you have provided ranges, right? The ranges are defined by whom?
Yeah, the INA will be only maintaining those IPs. Yeah, so it will be defined by them only. Okay.
Okay, even the private classes also?
Yeah, private. See, these IP are managed by them, but these private IPs will be given to you by, let's say, we are using your router, right? So it will
Correct.
provide you that IP to you.
Okay.
Okay. It has its own DHCP server. I guess you guys know about DHCP, right? So your DHCP is inside your router, which will be providing you that IP for you. Okay.
Okay.
Great. So when we are talking about the subnet mask, guys, so each classes have their own subnet mask. I guess you guys might have seen something like this. For class A, it's 255.0.0.0, right? 255 dot, yes, dot 0.0. And for class C, it is
255.255.255.0.
yes, absolutely. It's 255.255.255.0. Even if you like, when I showed you trying to put the IP, when I will try to put IP, it will automatically take that subnet mask for you. Okay, so what happens with this subnet mask? With this help of this subnet mask, guys, you can identify the network ID as well as the host ID also, like how many hosts it can connect to it. So let's taking an example of this IP over here, this one. Okay, see, this portion of the subnet mask will define the network ID, the network IP, right? And this portion will define the host. Okay, the host ID or the host IP, like how many valid IPs you can connect to it. Okay, so, or like how many valid hosts can be connected to this particular ID, particular IP. So if I take an example of this 192.168.0.1, so to which class does this IP belongs to?
Class B,
C.
Class
C,
B.
class C.
C.
Class C, guys. Yeah, can you see the range 192?
Mhm.
So it is like 192.0.0.0, right, to 223.255.255. I guess this is pretty understood to you, each and everyone, right? Am I correct? Right? Okay. So as as you said, it belongs to your class C. So what should be the subnet mask of this one?
24.
Sorry.
255.255.255.0.
Absolutely. Yes, the subnet mask will be 255.255.255.0, right? So can you tell me what is the network ID for this?
255.255.255.
Okay. See, these three mention that this the starting three octets would be the network ID, which means the network ID for this will be your
168.0.
192. Absolutely. Right? So, and the last one will denote the host, right? So this one will denote the host, which means, guys, like, let me just put it a bit apart. So which means, let's say this is your network ID, right? 192.168.0, right? So after this, you can connect multiple hosts to it, right? Multiple valid IPs, let's say 1.2.3.4.5. This host one will be increased, but this remains constant, isn't it? First, you have to consume it, right? The whole IP range of this, right? Getting my point? This is how your IP will be going on, right?
Yes.
Yeah, till 255, right? Till 255, we can configure it.
Absolutely, absolutely. For the class full, okay. Then because you cannot play around with your subnet mask for here now in the class full when we are talking about class full. Okay. Then your came into the picture, which is your classless. Okay. When we talk about classless, it is your let's put it this way. Okay. Classless inter domain routing. Has anyone heard about the term CIDR or classless interdomain routing? Okay. See, in this, what happens, like you can play around with the subnet mask. Earlier, like when there was classful, let's say you have an organization and you are asking for a IP range to provide to your employees, right? Let's say like you have only 30 sort of or 50 sort of employees in your organization, and you want an IP range for it. So what the service provider did, he will be providing you a class C IP, let's say 192.168.0, right? So you got the IP and you can connect 255 employees to it, right? Isn't it? You can connect
Yes.
255 devices to that IP range because it will be going like 192.168.0.1, right? And so on to till 255. But now what is happening is since you have only 30 employees, so you are wasting rest of the IPs, right? Isn't it? You are wasting rest
Yeah,
of the IPs. So
correct.
that's why this classless IPs came into the picture, where you can play around with your subnet mask. So basically, when we talk about class A subnet mask, right? Let's say this is the one. Let me write all first. Okay. So basically, they are represented by, okay, yeah, you can call it as a /8. Okay, this one is known as your /16, and this one is known as your /24. I will tell you why or how. Remember when I told you about the octets, right? They were divided into your bits, 8 bits each, right? Something like this, isn't it? Let me do one thing. Let me just copy it. Okay, let me just, oops, yeah. Let me just copy one octet and that will be perfect. Okay, considering just one octet over here. All right. There you go. See, there were 4 octets, each of containing 8 bits, right? So if you can see how we calculate that number 255 over here is in this way. So they are like each and every one is converted from binary to the like from binary ones. So this will be a 2 to the power 0. This will be 2 to the power 1. This is 2 to the power 2. This is 2 to the power 3. 2 to the power 4. 2 to the power 5. 2 to the power 6 and 2 to the power 7, correct? So can you tell me what is the value over here? 2 to the power 0 is
1.
right, and this is 2, 4, 8, 16. What else now?
62,
32,
64,
64, and your
128.
right. So guys, if you sum it up, it will be giving you a total of
256.
255. Okay, that's how your 255 is being calculated over here, and every number. So with the subnet mask range, like see, if these are all turn on bits, okay, if these are all power on bits, they will give you a total of 255. Okay, and in case let's say this one was 0, right? This one was 0, this one was 0, and this one was also 0, and let's say, yeah, this one also 0. All right, and let's say this one is also 0, and this one is also 0. Cool. So now your new subnet mask would be like, see, we calculate by the power on bits. Okay, we calculate with the power on bits. So if all these was like your 0, and these three were like your 1, 1, and 1. So how many power on bits are over here?
3.
3, right? And if we calculate those 3 power on bits, it gives you a total of, let's calculate,
224.
224.
224.
Yes.
Is that so? Right? So your new subnet mask would be like, we are talking in terms of any class C. Okay, let's take an example of class C. So new subnet mask would be 255.255.224. Okay, Oh, sorry. 255.224. That would be a new subnet mask. Earlier, like when we are talking about Classful, you were getting this one, right? Isn't it? So you're wasting whole IP range, right? But now if I talk about this classless, you will be using this subnet mask through which you are not wasting IPs, because let's say yeah, like let's calculate. If I talk about CIDR notation over here, the CIDR notation over here for this class C will be /27. Okay, see, as I told you how we are calculating this /8/16/24, we are counting them as per the power on bits. So if you are talking about very first octet, which has this 255, which means all are the power on bits, right? So we calculated 8 for it. Then for second, it is 16, and for the third, it's 24. Clear with this? How we are calculating the /8/16/24?
No, Sanyam, can you repeat, please? I'm not clear.
Okay. See, I guess you are clear with these power on bits over here. So
Yes,
these
yes.
power on, power on bits, we calculate the number over here, which is 255, the subnet mask, right? So if you can check, when we powered on each and every octet, or every bit
Bit.
of this octet, right? It gave me a total of 255, right?
Correct.
So when every bit of this octet was power on, it gave me a total of 255. So let's say when we are talking about this class, right? So very first
Okay.
octet
Yeah.
was powered on. Each and every bit was of this first octet was powered on, right? That's why we got 255. Rest are 0, which means they were something like this. Okay.
Okay.
Each and every bit of that octet was powered off. That why we got 0 over here. So this /8
Okay.
was calculated by counting the number of powered on bits.
Okay. Fine.
Clear?
Okay. Number
Similarly
of
for
power on
another one,
bits. Okay.
/16. Absolutely. Number of powered on bits. Okay. Okay, I guess the time is over for night today. Like in case of like what I will do, I will try to put up some questions for you guys tomorrow in this, like 1 or 2, right, related to your subnet mask, to give you guys a bit more understanding of this. All right,
Okay.
perfect.
And like material and notes will get after, like today itself, or?
Yeah, I will give you that. Don't worry about it. Okay,
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
no worries.